Hello, folks. Brandon here, and this is episode 2 of Q&A with Dre, Darren Richie Esquire. Darren's gonna wait. First, let me tell you about where we're at. We're in a satellite office in Los Angeles. What is a satellite office, Darren?
Well, I think it's relevant during COVID-19 and all of the coronavirus pandemic that people need to find alternative office space. Our office space was at the top of the U.S. Bank Tower, which required 2 elevators, one that would transfer at the 54th floor, interacting with a bunch of tourists that come from all over the world in order to visit the attractions over there. And that became very dangerous for my employees.
Right.
And also we couldn't get into the building because of the orders from Governor Newsom.
Of course.
Right. So basically we have to find other ways that we can meet clients and be centrally located in all different areas.
Right.
So this one happens to be in mid-Wilshire, and a friend of mine has this unit and we can use it anytime. So it's a satellite office. It's not our hub.
Right.
It's not our nerve center, but we can meet clients here and conduct business.
And just make it very, very convenient for potential clients in this area, of course.
That's right.
And today we are actually going to be talking about when a police officer can stop you.
Right.
So Darren's going to go over that. Please have a listen. This is going to be interesting.
Yeah, well, what's really interesting is last time we talked about whether or not you should talk to a police officer. But we didn't discuss what leads up to the interaction of a police officer actually being in front of you and asking you questions.
Right.
And that typically happens at a traffic stop.
Of course.
And people want to know, like, what are my rights? Can I be stopped? Can I be stopped for anything? If I'm not doing anything wrong, can a police officer stop me?
Right.
And oftentimes you'll hear in movies and real life and probably your own experiences, you get pulled over and one of the questions you'll ask an officer if you really weren't doing anything wrong is, "Officer, what was I doing wrong? Why did you stop me?
Yes.
What's the reason for the stop?" And oftentimes you'll hear a stutter because the police officers don't know what to say. Here is the law, and it's based on the Constitution, and it's based on the 4th Amendment in the Constitution against unreasonable search and seizure. They discuss whether or not a police officer in law enforcement can stop you and for what reasons that would be constitutional. And it's defined as if there is reasonable, articulable suspicion that crime is afoot, meaning if it's reasonable and the officer can actually state his reasons that he suspects that there was some kind of infraction of the law or a crime that was committed, he can pull you over. So what does that exactly mean?
I have no idea what that exactly means.
And crime afoot certainly sounds like an old phrase from a long time ago. But it shows you how strong that law is because it still exists here today. And what it means is if you're driving a car and you don't have a license plate, that would be a reason to pull you over because California, the state that we're in now, requires you to drive around with a license plate with current registration. Also, if you have a license plate but your registration is not current, that would be in violation of the law, and so you could be pulled over. Of course, you know that if you're speeding, going past the posted speed limit, you can be pulled over.
Of course.
In California, if your front windows are tinted, you could be pulled over because it's a violation of the law. If they think that you just left a bank robbery and they realize that you might be the person or the car matches the description of the getaway vehicle, they could pull you over. But if they don't have any of those reasons, they can't pull you over. Everyone likes to learn from example, however. So I'll describe this. If you're leaving a club or a bar in Hollywood and a cop is outside in his patrol car and he sees you walking out of the club, getting in your car and leaving, can he pull you over because he knows that you just left a place that serves alcohol?
I would say yes.
No.
Really?
No. There needs to be something more. He would need to see that you got in your car when you were stumbling. Or he needs to see that you're actually operating and driving your car while you're under the influence. Because you could have just been stumbling but sat in your car and didn't drive off. Or he needs to see that you open a container, or you're drinking while you're driving, or when you pull out, you're swerving, run a stop sign, pass through a red light, screech, accelerate too fast, speed, turn a corner hard, do a donut in the middle of the intersection. Without that, he cannot pull you over. So if a cop wants to pull you over just because I wanted to see if you might be drinking and driving, that would be illegal, and the entire stop would be suppressed, and pretty much the case would be dismissed.
Wow.
Right.
I have a quick question. There's been times where I've seen video where someone gets pulled over. They ask the police officer, "Why do you pull me over? Why did you pull me over?"
Right.
Do they have to tell you?
They should tell you why they pulled you over because that's the articulable statement with a reasonable, articulable suspicion.
Right.
And if they don't state that, if you ask the question, they don't answer it because they're not forced to tell you, they're supposed to tell you. If they don't, then later you can say, obviously, it wasn't articulable because they didn't tell me what the reason was.
Right.
And if they try later to say it was some other reason, of course, we have body cams now.
Right.
We have dash cams. So if they say that you rolled through a stop sign or you did a California stop, which is kind of like stop for a second and roll, but not a complete stop where you see the car kind of sit for a second, then we'll be able to get that through discovery and say, hey, they were just simply trying to see what was going on there, or they were profiling or something like that.
Right, right. That is good to know right there. For me especially, probably for you as well.
Right.
And did you want to add anything else?
Well, I don't condone drinking or driving.
Yeah.
I don't condone being under the influence of any alcohol or drugs while driving.
Right.
But you should know your rights.
Absolutely.
And we're citizens of the United States with a very powerful Constitution. And that means that we're able to have the freedom to drive around in our cars without law enforcement pulling us over.
100%.
All right.
100%.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for this information.
You're welcome.
I'm sure you're all going to really, really like this. Next week, I know you've all heard or seen the Jada Pinkett, Will Smith little red table talk, and you know there's some really weird stuff going on there with entanglement and whatnot. Darren's going to talk about divorce and maybe what's going on with that, what prenups mean, what community property means. It'll be really interesting next week. So.
Yeah, so far our sessions have focused on the criminal aspect of whether to talk to a police officer or if you can be stopped and it's constitutional or not. And we talked a few moments about some civil aspects of our practice, but we also have a family practice, and that includes divorce. And we represent both husbands and wives, both sides of the spousal community.
Right.
And I think that your audience would be interested to find out what happens when you want to divorce your spouse in a state that is a community property state like California. And we can discuss that next time.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you so much, folks. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you.